Hello, this is Jason at Empower PT. Today we are focusing on the rear hand. The rear hand, in the case of us orthodox fighters, is the right hand. So left hand being the lead hand, right hand being the rear hand. For the left-handed fighters out there, also known as southpaws, we're talking about the rear hand being the left hand and your lead hand being the right hand. Obviously, as you can see, we still haven't made it to the boxing gym. The lockdown is still on, but as soon as we can do the videos back in the boxing gym, we will take it there. So, as with any punch, we do have to go back to our stance. Once again, line of attack, hands up. Are you able to squat? Are you able to squat? I'll do it backwards. Are you able to squat? Are you able to squat? I'll do that in the southpaw stance. So, with the rear hand, you stay in your stance, and what you have to do is throw your punch in a straight line down the line of attack. In a straight line down the line of attack. The important thing is to turn your waist. Your waist must turn. In order to turn your waist, your rear leg will twist on the floor. Twist on the floor. As an old coach once said to me, and I'll do this from sideways, it's like putting a cigarette out. I don't smoke, so I don't know, but literally turning your rear leg and throwing in a straight line and bringing it back. Rear leg, bringing it back. Rear leg, bringing it back. It's also a little bit similar for those of you who play five-a-side football. Sometimes you take a penalty and you're not allowed to run up for that penalty. You literally turn for a quick penalty like that. So for the southpaws out there, I'll do the southpaw stance and pull your arm back. The arm must go straight out and come straight back. The key thing to remember with this is not to overreach. As I've said before, you throw. If I go any further than this, I'm tipping over. I cannot go beyond my distance. So if I need to get closer to the target, I take a step forward and land my punch. Step back. Everything perfectly straight. I can go to the body and back up. Do not punch down to the body. Duck down, punch, bring it back, come back up. You will get better and better at this the more you practice. What I have done here is I've set up some cones on the floor in order for us to practice this. So we've done a lot of footwork, we've done a lot of lead hand, we're working on the rear hand. So once again, in your stance, you literally throw the rear hand, bring it back. Make sure the lead hand stays in front of your chin. Your rear hand shoulder needs to also protect your chin. I'll show you from sideways again. My chin is protected from hooks. I'll do it in southpaw, just for the southpaws again. Rear hand it, protect your chin. With the cones on the floor, we're going to go in and out of the gates again, a bit like we did with the lead hand, but this time it's the rear hand. So once again, to the cone, throw my punch, I step back. I step across, I come forward to the cones, and in the gap I throw the punch. I come back, I step back. This will teach you distance, and this will teach you correct technique. Doing it slowly first. Step back. You go across, you step forward, you punch. You go across, step forward, you punch. You step back, step across, come forward, you punch. Step back, I'll go 2 steps this time. Step forward, punch. Now we start to speed it up with a bit of bounce on it, and you punch. You punch. 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 You need to practice that for 2 times 3 minutes, so 2 rounds. So I'll show you again sideways on, with the gates turned around. Literally. Rear hand on chin, come across. Rear hand on chin, I pull my punch straight back. Come across, come straight back. I'll do it from southpaw stance, or left-handed stance for those that don't know. Rear hand, pull it back. Step across, come forward. Rear hand, come across. Rear hand, notice I'm not overreaching. If I go too far, I lean over. I don't want to lean over. If I want to get closer to my target, I can go closer by stepping. To the body. Again from the other side for the orthodox guys. So we start to speed this up as we go. So if you spend one round doing it slowly, you can spend the second round speeding it up. So literally, you can mix it up again to the body. But perfect technique. For those boxers out there, one thing I would say is you never let your technique deviate. So even if you get hit with a very, very, very hard punch, you can't let the red mist come down and charging crazy. You still have to come forward, maintaining technique. Bringing your hands back to your chin at all times. So your shadow boxing, effectively, will be moving in and out of the cones. So sideways. Try and hit the cones, but all rear hands. Making sure the lead hand stays on the chin at all times. So other tips for perfecting your rear hand are using a weight. Something 2 kilos would be ideal. Standing in your boxing stance and literally throwing but not overreaching. As I've said before, if I lean too far forward, I start to tip with the weight. So once you put the weight in the hand, you know the distance that you can punch. So literally, I know that's the distance that I can punch. Literally throwing like this. I would practice for a good 3 minutes. I'll show you again for the southpaws. Literally. And that's as far as you can punch, okay? Don't go any further than that. What you can also do is switch the weight around. So if, as an orthodox boxer, I've got it in my rear hand, I'm going to put it in my lead hand now. And what I'm going to do is throw my rear hand, but maintaining this on my chin. I'll show you from this angle. So literally keeps me practicing putting my lead hand on my chin whilst throwing my rear hand. So literally, so for those of you out there that are a little more adept at throwing your rear hand, what I would say to you is you need to now practice throwing it off the centre line. So I'll just do this in southpaw stance for a moment. Literally, not just throwing your rear hand straight, but throwing it off the centre line, taking your head off to the side. I'll do it in orthodox stance. So rear hand normal, off to the side, off to the side, off to the side. Taking your head off the centre line so that you will not be hit with counter punches. I would also say as a little tip, if you are a southpaw boxing an orthodox fighter or an orthodox boxing a southpaw, never load up on the rear hand. They can see it coming. So if I'm an orthodox fighter as I am, and I'm facing you, and you as a southpaw are further away, your head is a little further away, the moment I go to do this and overload up, you're going to catch me coming in, and vice versa as a southpaw, as I load up, the orthodox fighter is going to catch me coming in. So do not overreach, really don't overreach, particularly against a fighter who stands in another stance. The other thing I'd add to that is, in terms of practicing this, you need to throw it at different targets. So if you can imagine, I'm going to put some targets up on the wall there. You need to practice firing it at different targets as they come up. So throwing your rear hand at different targets, more of a reaction thing. What I would say is, whilst you're doing that, is make sure you're keeping your lead hand on your chin. So if you can imagine as well, I'm the opponent, I'm moving around, you keep practicing putting your rear hand everywhere I go, try to throw your rear hand. Just like we did in the jabbing video, every time, try to throw your rear hand. Really practice throwing it wherever I go. You want to catch me coming in. Every time I do something, rear hand it, rear hand it. Just for practice purposes. Obviously, you would use the lead hand normally. And the last thing with this is obviously you need to practice putting it in combination. So once you've mastered this, so to speak, you need to be able to throw that rear hand in a combination. So literally, it could be 1, 2, really thinking of that rear hand, or stepping off to the side, 1, 2. I'll do it in southpaw stance, 1, 2. Bringing your head off to the side. So in subsequent videos, we will build upon what we've done today. That was just a basic, let's look at the rear hand, make sure we're throwing it accurately, straight, not making any mistakes, and then trying to put it into combinations. So in future videos, I will put that into more combinations.